It looks like our little tree here is becoming, I guess, a character in my daily check-ins of recent. So you might notice I'm feeling a little bit more productive. I think part of my issue was the decompression of having visitors. When you have company over, I had family visiting from out of town, and while very, very exciting, it demands a lot of energy when you're used to being like in your creative zone. And so I'm feeling a little bit more productive. And so I guess I'm just here to say that it is possible to, allow yourself to feel like crap for a couple days and not lose your true spirit. And that's really important. That's such an important lesson. I think that's part of my issue with some of the interpersonal experiences I've been having that have kind of interfered with my not productivity as in modern productivity, but as far as my like actualization of my work. It seems like people are can be I'm noticing can be so persuaded by their own emotions, as if they're like a puppet, not they're not the master, holding the strings. And it's very worrisome when you're, you can puppet, be the master of your own puppet show, but when there's other, moving parts, it can be a little bit more challenging, but it's good. It's good for the interview with humanity. So anyway, feeling a little bit more productive, always like hopeful, always creative. Um, the company, it was like a mixed bag because here I am, in Europe and all these wonderful things to do surrounded by like art and culture and artists and I'm just feeling like I've mentioned a little bit like off course of what had been agreed to. So, I'm really in the process of just like stepping out of the shadow, the specter of things I cannot control. And it's a serious process that really calls into question some of my, deeper root issues that, as I mentioned, that I thought had been pretty much reconciled, but it kind of like risen to the surface, especially with having visitors. So, I keep saying so. Sorry. Anyway, like that's any better. But yeah, I had like grandma brought and grandpa brought my one of my older daughters and a friend of hers for a like a birthday holiday vacation kind of deal. And it was during the medieval festival. So here I am sitting here, kind of, in my hermetitis, waiting. Maybe I can go and just get activated by the retro, not retro, like pre-retro, the medieval like essence of something I can relate to about like times before all this modern blah blah blah. And so I think I had some subconscious like grandiose expectations of like what was supposed to happen. And of course, the girls, still relatively young, want to go and, wine and dine and do the nightlife and do the beach life and do the whatever life and the castle life and see, because there's a million little castles everywhere. And they wanted to go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Colosseum and do the whole trip. And, they're just like so sweet and so good and so just adventurous in the spirit and the just like so confident and like just it's so beautiful. So while I was like, I want to spend time, because they're not around all the time, I still was like very pleased to see them just like enjoying and then anyway, but everybody, like, they, have their friends, and, my mom has her friends, and my husband has his friends, and I'm just the frickin' shadow. And that used to be part of, like, the weird identity that I'd kind of, like, just resorted to. Like, what do you do? Oh, like, well, do you want to have a philosophical conversation for an hour? Or oh, you paint? Oh, you're an artist. Yeah, yeah, I'm an artist. It's like I'm not a banker. It just kind of encapsulates everything. So I kind of got stuck with that the same way I got stuck with being like the mysterious artist. It's not like being two-faced to be, there's different zones, that we get into. I get into my productivity zone and the word productivity has such a weird, like cringe connotation now because I don't mean like productivity. I do mean bending time and like all the flow state and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that is consistent. But being in that zone where I have done like little, theatrical painting performances, but I'm definitely not the kind of artist that like sits with the easel on the boardwalk or on the Seine or wherever, and like paints the seagulls um, and while people look over my shoulder. No, I disappear. I go into like the zone, and then like come out with it like a freaking series, and magic. It's like, where did she go? Oh, it's like, and then when I show up, I'm electric with the relief and the peace and the calm that my spirit is activated, and I don't have to like put on a show. I can just like, I'm very pleased with what I've done, and it's like, let the work speak for itself, and it'll reach the right people, and I can just be like I get, so that's like the turmoil. Anyway, blah blah blah. So I think I did manage in all the snafu of the moving parts of the people running here and running there, and to visit all these other people and all these dinner dates and all this crazy stuff that I'm just not accustomed to recently. um I did manage to get a couple clips of the medieval festival. That it was just so sweet, and just I loved it so much. It just takes me back to like almost, I don't really get into that whole other life stuff, but I do see like the evolution of, technologies, and I can feel like that essence of, the spirit of all just the artisanal just glory and the things that have survived and the traditions they're carrying forward. And so I'll maybe put together a couple little clips. Like, let me see. Oh my gosh, this is running late. So I'm going to keep it short. And I guess what value am I providing today? Just a demonstration in resilience and a glimpse into the artistic plight, and being reconciled to this crazy starving artist survival mode and having to confront the world outside. Sometimes can be glory, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge with different personalities, but it's all worth it. So keep the faith. Whatever. And I guess I will check in again soon.
I become the sacred fire. I forge my true path. My heart is my compass, attuned to my map.